So yesterday, Ken Paxton, this has been a big story on this radio station all day today. Attorney General Paxton sues the NCAA over the NCAA stance on transgender players and citing false practices. The Texas Attorney General announced yesterday that his office is suing NCAA over the league's stance on participation in sports by transgender players. Paxton said in a written statement that the litigation was an effort to prevent the NCAA from engaging in, as he says, quote, engaging in false, deceptive, and misleading practices, end quote, by marketing sporting events as competitions only for women, but then allowing biological males to compete against the biological females. That was yesterday. You've heard about it all day today on this radio station, and you'll continue to hear that story. My name's Jeff, and it's West Side Jeff. I'm in for Chris Kroc. Chris is back on January 2nd. I'm in for the next week or so. We'll be off tomorrow night and Wednesday night tomorrow starting at noon, do an old-fashioned Christmas and play Christmas music through Christmas night. And we'll live and local from there on out. I was born and raised up in Columbus, Ohio, and fell into talk radio. I didn't go to school to be a professional talk show guy or anything like that. I'm just a regular guy, just like you. I make a PB&J in the morning and take it to work and have a day job, and every now and then get a chance to sit in this chair and just give my opinion. And when people ask me, hey, you're on the radio, what do you talk about? I just tell them it's pretty simple. I just provide common sense opinion on current events. And common sense is missing today. I don't need to tell you that. You know it. You get it. You understand it. And that's all I do. I'm a consumer of news. I watch it, I listen to it, I read it, and I go to multiple sources. Hell, I watch CNN as much as anything. A little MSNBC, some News Nation, a little bit of Fox. Listen, I know what the Fox guys are saying. I want to see what the enemy's saying, the other guys. And between all those, it allows me to really consume the news, understand how it's slanted, how it's reported, and then I analyze it in my little brain that I have, and then I have hypothesize on it. Then I have an analysis, and that's what I do. I give you my common sense opinion on current events, and sometimes you'll say, Jeff, you're spot on. You're saying what I'm thinking, and every now and then I'll get an email or a social media message or a phone call along the way that says you're dead wrong. And either way, that's okay. And if you disagree with me, I love it because I'd like to hear why. I'm not always right. And if you agree, that's okay too. Tell me that. 800-288-9227 is the phone number, 800-288-WBAP. And you can also hit me up across social media at Westside Jeff. Back to the Paxton story. My common sense, it's pretty simple. Either you're born with a penis or you're not. If you got a penis, you're a male. And penises shouldn't be in restrooms or locker rooms of people who are born with vaginas. Bottom line, it's pretty stupid simple, right? You can change all you want. You can change from male to female, female to male. I get it. I don't that happens today. It's the one thing in life I don't understand. I can understand being gay. I can understand being bi to some degree. I understand it. I can, at least my pea brain that I have can comprehend it. What I can't understand is somebody that wants to go through a sex change operation. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And I know you don't either. And it's not for me to get. It's just not. But what I will tell you is sex change or no change. If you're born one gender, you should not compete with people in an athletic position, athletic skill set of the other gender. You want to go cut your pee-pee off and become a woman? You want to cut your boobs off and become a man? That's between you and your doctors and your family and your Lord. It's not for me to understand, not for me to figure out. But there's no reason, zero, zilch, none, and nobody can make an argument that they should have an opportunity to compete in a cross-gender environment. Really, if you want to create that opportunity, how about we have cross-gender games and allow them to compete with each other? I'm married, been married 30 years, 2 daughters, Danielle and Sydney. They're both swimmers. Competed in high school, competed at state level, went on and competed in college. Danielle moved into diving and became an academic All-American and competed on a national basis. Listen, difference between men and women, I don't need to tell you that. Difference in body mass and makeup and muscle, there's a difference. And the common sense is pretty simple. What A.G. Paxton did in suing the NCAA over the group's stance on transgender players just makes sense to me. It's common sense. When I was a kid, my dad, when I lived at home with mom and dad was a plumber, mom was a bookkeeper, dad was a Democrat, mom was a Republican. Back then, when I was growing up, went to high school and college, the Democratic Party stood for the working man, and the Republican Party was all about guns and butter, that whole concept. It's changed dramatically in my lifetime. Democrats today aren't about the working man. Trump and the Republican Party have taken that over. The Democrats, really, when I think about the Democrats, I think about they stand for one thing, and you and I stand for the same thing. We do. You agree. You and I agree with Democrats on this. They stand for one word, that's equality. We stand for equality, but there's one major difference between us and them. While Democrats stand for equality, and we do too, they stand for equality of outcome. You and I stand for equality of opportunity. You can't legislate outcome. You can legislate opportunity. I don't have a problem with equality of opportunity. No matter your race, no matter your gender, no matter your sexual preference, no matter your religious background, I don't care who you are and what you do. You should have the exact same opportunity that I have. And I should have the exact same opportunity that you have. And that's all we should have. But you can't legislate the outcome, and that's what Democrats want to do. So kudos to Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton for filing the lawsuit against the NCAA over the league's stance and participation in sports by transgender athletes. Kudos to him. We'll continue that conversation. I get a break on the other side of that. I want to talk about a couple other things. By the way, Bill Clinton was admitted to the hospital with a fever. I want to tell you about that. And there's more to that than what we're talking about. I don't know exactly what it's all about, but I have a hint. It's pretty interesting looking at social media. I'll tell you what that looks like in about 4 minutes. I also want to get into a story out of New York today, in something on a subway, and something Joe Biden did today that really bothers me, and they tie together. I'll tell you about those in about 3.5-4 minutes. My name is Jeff. It's Westside Jeff on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. At about, let's see, it was about 4. Let me look. I screenshotted it. It was 4:32 p.m. today. So just a couple hours ago. I got a notification on my phone that said breaking news alert from WBAP. President Clinton hospitalized after developing a fever. More with Fox News through your night. That's important for a couple things. Number one is if you don't have the WBAP app on your phone, you're missing out on quite a bit. You really are. So I would encourage you, if you don't have it, take the time to go to your app store, type in WBAP, download that app, and save it and use it because there's a lot of value in that. First and foremost is when you open up the app, you'll see a lot of things. You'll see a homepage. You'll see news. You can click on the latest in the news. Podcasts. So you can go back and listen to all the shows that you've missed, or something that you may be driving along, or you're in the middle of your day and you hear one of us say something, you're like, wait, did he just, what did he say? You can pick back up on that, or you can listen live. So at the very bottom of the app, there's a play button. You can listen live to the radio station. But the other thing, if you don't have the WBAP app, what you're missing out on is, especially now through the holidays, we regularly, when news breaks out, we break in and we send out a notification to all app people with the apps on their phone. And that was one of them. Again, at 4:35, I think it was, I don't have it open in front of me, sent out a notification that Bill Clinton had been hospitalized. So as you go through your day, and as you go through, you can't be expected to have your eyeball and your ears on the news 24/7. That's what we do. We're kind of geeks at that. It's what we love. And so when something newsworthy hits that impacts not only the nation, but also right here in North Texas, we put it in notifications, send it out to say, hey, are you aware of this? This is just happening right now, and we'll keep you up to speed on the radio station. And then you can, again, click Listen Live on the app and listen in real time. So if it's a notification of significant importance to you, you can click Listen Live and catch up on what's going on. So again, if you do not have the WBAP app on your phone, I would encourage you to do so. Go to your app store, type in WBAP, download the app, and click on, set it so you get your notifications. There's real value in there. It's not a sales message. It's real value. And as you travel throughout the Christmas holiday season, especially if you're out of town, it's a great way to keep up to speed on what's going on here in North Texas, but also across the country. One of the things that's going on is Bill Clinton admitted to a hospital with a fever. And I want to tell you more about that in about 90 seconds. But first, I want to take a call from Philip from Temple. Philip, thanks for listening. You're on the Chris Crock Show. My name is Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. Thanks for calling. What's your perspective?
Yeah, I was going to comment on when you were discussing Democrats and Republicans, or we believe in equality, but the difference is ours for opportunity and theirs for outcome. And you get me thinking about EOE, the Equal Opportunity Employer. That if you go look at it right now, almost everything on there is being violated now, and people are being hired for color skin, for race, for sex preference, all that stuff, and people are not being hired for it too. But it was 1965 in July that was passed, and I was curious to find out it was LBJ who was president, Democrat. It was a supermajority of Democrats in the Senate and the House. They were for equal opportunity employer. It's just this craziness was taken over here in the last 15, 20 years, and it's got on steroids now.
Isn't it amazing how significant things have changed?
I jokingly say I would give a part of my body to have Clinton back, just for his fiscal concerns. It wasn't really that bad. It wasn't bad. All this stuff is exactly. You look. What is that thing? Communist Manifesto is what it seems like to me.
Well, it's funny you say give a part of your body to have Clinton back, because Clinton gave a part of his body to be in the White House. So, well, Philip, thank you. Thank you for calling. Go ahead. What else do you want to say?
Oh, no.
Right.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Hey, you too, Philip. Thank you for calling, and thank you for listening. Back to the Bill Clinton story is all through the day after I saw the WBAP notification, I saw several others about Bill Clinton. And all of them said the same thing. Bill Clinton admitted to hospital with fever. And so even in the last 30 minutes, I'm scrolling across the line to see what's the story here? Because my sister was a nurse. My sister's a nurse. My mom was a nursing school flunk out. One of the things I know about medical providers is they don't put you in a hospital just for a fever. So there's more to that story than we know. and time will tell. You get hospitalized. Hospitals keep you inpatient when bad things happen, very significant. I mean, they don't put you in a hospital because you got a cold. They don't put you in a hospital when you have fever. There's more to that story. Don't know what it is. We'll keep you up to speed on that here. And I'm going to keep following that story because the conspiracy theorist side of me wonders, what's up with that story? What's going on there? By the way, coming up in about 6 minutes at the bottom of the hour news, I got Sean Allen in the newsroom. Sean and I are just communicating back and forth real quick, and he said, coming up at the bottom of the hour news, he's got an update on the Paxton story suing the NCAA. He also has an update on Starbucks strike spreading to other locations across the country, including right here in North Texas. So that's coming up in about 6 minutes now. Back to the Bill Clinton thing. It's interesting. One of the things I do is I go through and scroll through social media to see what social media is saying. And when it comes to Bill Clinton being hospitalized because of fever, I see two regular common themes across social media. One, and I'll tell you how they stack up. One of them is on a regular basis, I see a lot of them that say, who had it on their bingo card that Jimmy Carter going to outlive Bill Clinton? That was one of them. And yeah, I get it. And then the second one is the more interesting one. I see a lot of this across social media. I see a lot of folks in some pretty interesting positions saying disgraced former President Bill Clinton has been hospitalized after coming down with a fever. And the narrative that this person put was, I hope he gets well soon. We need him alive when Kash Patel drops the Epstein list. So those are two things that stick out. The bingo card with Clinton maybe not outliving Jimmy Carter. I don't think that's the case. And secondly is the Jeffrey Epstein story. There's some truth to that. There's a side of me, a side of you that wonders, what's that going to look like when Kash Patel gets in there and the Epstein stuff, if and when it comes out. We've been talking about this all along. There's going to be a lot of names in there that's going to catch you by surprise. And Bill Clinton may or may not be one of those surprises. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. You want to weigh in? 800-288-9227. It's 800-288-WBAP. Got to hit bottom of the hour news in 3 minutes with Sean Allen in the newsroom. On the other side of that, after the newscast, he's going to give you an update on what's going on with the Paxton story. On the other side of that, I want to talk about a story out of New York, and a very disturbing story that I have a strong opinion on. It may not align with what you're thinking. It may be very different than what you're thinking, and that's okay. And I'd love to hear your perspective after I tell you what I think. My name's Jeff, Westside Jeff. I'm in for Chris Crock. Coming up in about 2 minutes, we've got Sean Allen on the other side of that. Back to a story about a suspect that was arrested in New York after a disturbing incident. We'll be back in about 6 minutes after the news. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff, in for Chris Crock on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Jeff is the name. It's Westside Jeff. Something interesting I saw yesterday, by the way, in about 2 minutes to tell you about a story out of New York that was that was a brazen attack, and it comes into play with what we're talking about throughout this radio station, and especially tonight. Over the weekend, I couldn't help but watch the PNC Championship. It's a golf tournament made for TV event where it's father, son, mother, daughter, mother, son, something like that. Famous golfers and their kids. And it came down to the last group was Bernhard Langer and his son, and Tiger Woods and his son Charlie. As a golfer, it's been fascinating to watch Tiger Woods' story and watch the story of his son, Charlie. I remember when Charlie was, I think, 10 and out there playing with his dad. It's just the mannerisms and the magic that is all Tiger. It was special to watch. Well, this weekend yesterday was a special moment, I'm sure, for Tiger, and something that all I could think about as a parent is it brought tears to my eyes. Tiger was playing along with Charlie against Langer and his son. And in the middle of the competition, Charlie Woods, Tiger's son, 15-year-old son, had his first hole-in-one. And all I could think about was what in life could be a more proud moment for a parent, especially one who loves the game of golf, than to be playing with your son, playing with your 15-year-old child at the moment when he or she, in this case it was a he, Charlie Woods, had his first hole-in-one. I always said that from the day I fell in love with my wife, Mrs. Westside, that if I have a hole-in-one, she's the first one I'm going to tell. Period. I'll pick up the phone from the course. I want her to be the first one to hear it outside of the group I'm playing with. And unfortunately, I haven't had a hole-in-one since 1999. So long before cell phones. She had one not this summer, but summer before. So about 17 months ago, her second hole-in-one. And I was actually sitting in the clubhouse of the course getting ready to tee off when I got a call from her, and I knew she was out of the course. I picked it up and said, "You all right?" And she said, "I just called and let you know I had my second hole-in-one just now on hole number 8, and we talked about it for a minute, and I saw her 30 minutes later. She made the turn." Special moment. Special. The hole-in-one is a very, very rare shot in the world of golf and sports, and it's something awesome for a parent to be with a child, to see them experience it. Special, special moment. I can't think of anything else in life that would be comparable to that. If you can, I'd like to hear your story, your thoughts on that. 800-288-9227. It's Jeff in for Chris Kroc. I mentioned a minute ago, I want to talk about a story out in New York. In New York today, a suspect was arrested after a disturbing attack on a subway over the weekend. A 33-year-old undocumented immigrant, first name is Sebastian. I can't pronounce the guy's last name or middle name. He's from Guatemala. He's accused of setting a sleeping woman on fire on the train. Now, an ICE spokesperson today says that the suspect was previously deported in 2018, but managed to get past immigration officials again. So he was committed crimes before, deported 2018, got back into the country, and over the weekend set a woman on fire in a subway in New York, and he was arrested today. Now get ready for a interesting opinion on this, and this is truly my opinion. I'm not just doing this to spike calls and set people off, but I want you to think about this for a minute. It's a horrible story, and there's no ways about it. It's a horrible story. And you add this woman who was set afire in New York to the list of others who have all kinds of crimes committed against them by undocumented migrants. This isn't the first. It's not the last. It's a horrible story. But the second thing about this is the media loves stories like this. The national reporting media tell them, but especially right-wing media, they love these stories. A story like this. Love a story when a good old-fashioned illegal commits a crime against unsuspecting Americans. So we, in the right-wing media and the media itself, can use it as a whipping tool against the Biden administration and against the Democrats and say, see, I told you so. Your open borders policy is going to screw with us. Your open borders policy makes us less safe. Your open borders policy is wrong. Yeah, I get it. I understand it. But we love a story when we can use it as a whipping tool, as an I told you so. Yet when crimes against humanity occur in our own country, right here in North Texas, committed by American citizens against American citizens, you barely hear a peep. Why is that? Why is it when we hear an undocumented illegal committing a crime, something like what we saw over the weekend, setting a woman ablaze in a subway, why do we hear that story in the "see, I told you so" moment, but we don't hear a lot about the other stories about an American citizen committing a crime against another American? Those crimes, why is that? Well, those crimes just don't reinforce and don't help the narrative that is border control. Now, we know the border's broken, always has been, it always will be. I don't like it, you don't like it. The best we can hope for is that President Trump and his administration set forth policies to help make it better, to improve those conditions. But in the end, I asked myself this question. How would the story out of New York of an illegal migrant who was thrown out of the country before but escaped coming back over the border again, sets a woman on fire, how will the story impact my life? How would it affect your life? How would this story impact North Texas? And how would this story affect the Trump administration and their policies? And might this story have longer lasting impact? It's a horrible story. And my heart aches for that woman involved and all those, especially those who saw it. But when I think of news stories that matter, I think beyond the headline. I think beyond the clickbait. I think beyond and look past the immediate political narrative. The "see, I told you so." I think past that. Yeah, the story out of New York, I get it. Right-wing media is going to, I'll bet you Fox is just carrying that story after story and saying it's a horrible thing. And they're right. But what about the stories of Americans committing similar acts of violence and crimes against Americans don't make as significant of a story because it doesn't meet the narrative. It's not as important as this story. And when I think about stories that really make a difference, I think about a story I'm going to talk about in 3.5 minutes. I think of another story that is more significant, and it's a developing story today that has more of an impact. Strong opinion. My name's Jeff. I'm in for Chris Kroc. You got an opinion on it? My number is 800-288-9227. That's 800-288-WBAP. You can also hit me up across social media at Westside Jeff. Again, 3.5 minutes from now, I got a bigger developing story, impacting more people, impacts you a little more significantly, and those that you love. 3.5 minutes. Westside Jeff in for Chris Kroc on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Jeff is the name. Westside Jeff in for Chris Kroc. Chris is back on January 2nd. Talking about, I just give you common sense opinion on current events. Talking about the stories of the day. Bill Clinton hospitalized for quote unquote a fever. There's more to that story. We don't know, but it will come out over time, and I suspect we'll be talking about it at some point in time. Also today, in New York, and Sean Allen in the top of the hour news, by the way. Sean is in the newsroom, has more on this story coming up in about 12 minutes in the newscast. The story out of New York today, a suspect was arrested after disturbing attack on a subway over the weekend. An illegal migrant set a woman ablaze in a subway. He, as the rest of the story comes out, he's from Guatemala. His first name is Sebastian. Can't identify or can't tell you the last name, middle and last name, because can't pronounce it. He is accused of setting a sleeping woman on fire on the train. Saw an ICE spokesman today that came out and said the suspect was previously deported in 2018, but managed to get past immigration officials again and back into the country, and did that over the weekend. My 2 cents worth on this story is this. I suspect, I've not watched it. I've not turned on Fox News all day today, but I'll bet you it's a lead story, and they're all talking about it, and you'll hear it across right-wing media because it meets a narrative. And their narrative is it's a finger-pointing incident. It's an opportunity for hardcore righties to say, see, Biden administration, you're all wrong with this whole open borders thing, because that crime is on you. It meets a narrative. And my point is, there's many, many, many crimes across the country every day, with Americans committing crimes on other Americans that don't get reported. Not all of them. I'm sure some of them do. I know some of them do, but not all of them. But it doesn't meet a narrative, so we don't always hear it. I'll talk about another story coming up in about 3 minutes about a story out of D.C. that has, I think, a more significant impact. But first, I want to get to Daniel from Farmersville. Daniel, thanks for listening. You're on the Chris Crock Show talking to Jeff. Thanks for calling.
Hey, Jeff. I just wanted to say, I think if you'd listen to the news, there's stuff reported all the time about Americans doing stuff to Americans. I think that you're on the wrong road on this. I do agree that it does match up with the narrative, no doubt about it. But the bottom line is they report all kinds of stuff. And the fact is, these things are happening. I have a friend that no longer can walk because of an illegal alien, and I know that's not politically correct. That's what he is. And you know what? He didn't do nothing. And I've got a friend that's been paralyzed for about 10 years now. I have no use for that kind of stuff, just for the record. But I think that you need to listen to the news, because they report a lot of other things that Americans do to Americans. So I think you're just a little off base, not far, but you're a little off base. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate you weighing in on your opinion. I appreciate that. And kind of a follow-up to that is, believe me, I pay attention to a lot of the news and stories, and I hear you. Some of those crimes do get reported, but there's so much crime in this country, it doesn't all get reported because you don't have the time to report it. But I regularly will see stories, many times buried in deep in a printed publication, that to me are bigger than just a little line on page B12 of a local newspaper, but doesn't get really reported on national news or TV or radio. So, but this story out of New York made it as a big story because it's illegal migrant crime. And I agree with you. It's horrible. It's unacceptable. And all I can do is hope that Trump, when he gets in there, changes policies and changes actions of the U.S. so that we can minimize that. I don't think you'll ever eliminate it, but let's minimize it to the best. And you know what? I want leadership, meaning President Trump, to show me he actually cares. Show me you care. Tell me you care. Show me you care. And tell me and show me that's unacceptable, and we're going to do what we can to alleviate that. To me, a bigger story that happened today is the growing controversy tonight after President Biden commuted the sentence of nearly every federal death row prisoner to life with parole. So he went through today and signed commutations. There are 40 men in this country well, they've been commuted. They're in death row and to be put to death. But Biden today signed an order to let 37 of those 40. So again, there's 40 on death row. He signed to let 37 of them let them off of death row and put them in a position to life in prison with no parole. This is a historic move, and it's not sitting well with Republicans or Democrats. It's not sitting well with law enforcement, a lot of governors and a lot of local leaders. It's just the wrong thing to do. Biden commuted those sentences for 37 of the 40 men on federal death row to life without parole. That's a big story. We've never in the history of our country had a president do that. We've never seen a governor do that. We've never seen anybody in office do that. He declined to commute the sentences of 3 men. There's only 3 men on federal death row that he did not commute. One of them is the mass shooter of the Tree of Life synagogue in Pittsburgh, where 11 people died. One of them is the killer of the 9 people at the Mother Emanuel Church in Charleston, South Carolina from 2015. And the third is the guy that committed the Boston Marathon bomber. Those are the only 3 he did not commute their sentences. That's horrid. That's unbelievable. When I think about stories that impact me, that impact you, that are significant, that we got to talk about, this story hits it. This affects you. This impacts you. This is a direct reflect on you. Yeah, none of those 37 of the 40 may be members of your family. But I'm going to tell you in about 7 minutes, 8 minutes, why that does impact you, how this does impact you and your neighborhood, your home, your business, and your family. I'll tell you how that impacts that coming up in about 8 minutes. 2 minutes from now, we got Sean Allen in the newsroom with updates on what's going on in the news. On the other side of that, we'll talk about this story and how that impacts you and why it's significant. I got a direct connection here. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. I'm in for Chris Kroc on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP.